This is the original Firefighter Podcast, where we talk about anything you would talk about at the firehouse kitchen table. And sometimes we even talk about fighting fires. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Let's get into the show. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the original Firefighter Podcast. I'm your host, Will Peterson, and with me is Phil Nedved, our co-host, and we are going to have a great show for you today. We're going to hit some things going on out in the firefighting world, talk about Massachusetts, and we're going to be talking about some flooding across the country, and we'll get into some specifics about why you should not drive your apparatus through flooding waters. And before we get into that, though, we are going to pay tribute to Ozzy Osbourne. As many of you know, today he has passed away. So the Ozman goeth. So Phil, just out of curiosity, were you an Ozzy guy?
I wasn't,
no?
But I remember the show, right? The Osbournes, and you get to meet the whole family, and
yeah.
But
so he passed away at the age of 76. I don't know. Did you think that he'd live that long?
No one did.
No one did.
But I feel like his last words were, "Mom, I'm coming home."
Mom, I'm coming home. That's right.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
That's right. Well, and no more tears.
Reports
no more tears.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So I was a big Ozzy Osbourne fan. I got to see him in Madison, Wisconsin on a tour. I can't remember the exact tour, but he was playing with Zakk Wylde, and man alive, I was a big Zakk Wylde fan. And obviously I think, a lot of people think that, Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads were just the greatest duo, and they were awesome. But I was a big Zakk Wylde fan.
There's one good thing
today's the
about
day
Zakk
that we
Wylde.
Lost Ozzy. What's
one
that?
good thing about Zakk Wylde? His guitars.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. There's so many great songs. So, out here, I'm out here in Whitefish, Montana, and been driving around, today and getting some things done at work. But all day long since the news broke, the radio stations have all been playing Ozzy Osbourne songs. And so, the guy, obviously is famous and also infamous at the same time. Biting the head off a bat will get you into some trouble with PETA. And allegedly he apparently snorted ants or something like that with some competition with Motley Crue. And
what did Charlie Sheen say, though? Something about tiger's blood? So maybe Ozzy had it right. Bat's blood.
I think he had Black Panther blood.
Be a walking corpse for the past 25 years, but he'll live longer than me for some reason.
Yeah. I'm sure that many firefighters have listened to Ozzy Osbourne, probably claim that he's their favorite. He's a big favorite of mine. So I know I'll be listening to some Ozzy going forward, doing some of my workouts and hikes and things like that, listening to Ozzy Osbourne. So that's a little bit of a tribute to Ozzy. Wish him the best as he goes on into the afterlife, which he sang plenty about. So hopefully
which afterlife are we thinking for him, though?
I don't know. That's wherever Randy Rhoads went.
Wherever Randy Rhoads went. Eating bats might be.
Yeah. I hope they're hanging out. Obviously, you can't overlook Black Sabbath as well. That's obviously the first band.
Yeah.
They pretty much wrote the script for metal, and everybody else followed. So that's a little bit of that for news in the world. Also, just to bring some levity to some of our content out there in the social media world. We've been having some interesting conversations going on in TikTok. And so I just want to congratulate you, Phil, as you've joined our team and dubiously have pissed everybody off.
What'd I do, brother?
No, that's actually not true. We just have had some interesting comments on this last episode that we did about, and I want to put some context into this where what we were talking about on our last episode was that there are definitely chief officers all the way up to the fire chief in some departments, and also to go beyond that, that there are politicians out there who claim to have the best interests of firefighters and first responders in their hearts and minds, and they talk that way, but they don't walk that way. They don't support it the way that they imply that they do. and they usually do that like in the public space, usually in front of a microphone. They're trying to say that health and wellness of our firefighters is the most important thing. The context that we were trying to put in there was, you can't have it both ways. You can't say on one breath that the health and wellness of firefighters are the most important thing to say. Let's say I was the fire chief and I'm out there saying that, but yet at the same time, behind closed doors, I'm doing absolutely nothing to bring strength to the staff, to the line, to the personnel in the streets that are running their tails off with the increasing call volume. And so what we were driving at in that conversation was, you cannot be the leader of the department or the city or the municipality and say that first responders are front and center and in your thoughts and minds about health and wellness, but at the same time be doing nothing to bring down call volume or to increase the company's strength, whether that be more personnel, more fire trucks, more ambulances. You can't have it both ways, is what we're trying to say in the last episode. And just to be clear, we did get some, basically, out on our social medias, we're putting out clips just like everybody else is, and so people are watching these 30-second clips and then just, chiming in. And so you got some interesting ones. I like this one. This one comes from Bobby Freitag, actually. He says, "Who hired you? ? Who facilitated your training to get you to the point that you don't need a chief, unquote. Who creates the budget to get you the training and equipment that you need? Each person has their role, even if the members on the floor do a majority of the work." One other one, this is where I'm just looking for my favorite one. So this one comes from Krusty Dodger 931. He says, "Bro has a bad taste in his mouth from getting passed over or not going well enough or not doing well enough on the promotional test. I guarantee that he wants to promote up as high as he can." So,
so these are the great things about when you take things out of context and you live in a 30-second world, right? The whole conversation was talking about Austin, Local 975, filing a vote of no confidence because of the actions of the chief, who didn't back them, who didn't support them, who potentially killed people because of the flooding, right? Sure. He holds accountability to that. And it's the whole, even the clip itself started off with me saying, I appreciate the work that they do and I appreciate the facilitation of those things like a budget. But at the end of the day, when you want to talk about a budget, who am I sitting across the table from when I'm negotiating? The chief of the fire department and the city. And that's not coming from, listen, I've risen as high as I want to. If I continue to go, maybe, who knows? That's down the line. But you know what?
Yeah, just
someone
for
whose
clarity,
name is Krusty, come on, boomer, get the fuck out of here, all right? Chill out. I wasn't commenting on you. Apparently you're offended because you're a chief somewhere and you feel slighted. I wasn't talking about, I was talking about one specific thing that happened, that occurred. And at the end of the day, if you don't support the people on the line by getting them the equipment, the training, the people that they need, then you're not for us.
Well, just so we have clarity here, the greatest thing about this is that actually Unfiltered Phil here has promoted to the rank of lieutenant, and I have obviously had much to say about the fact that I think that you should obviously go even higher than that, but you have to do you. But I want you to know that I've got your back, and here's how I got your back. So I did reply to a few of these messages on this one. I just, I'm like, you know what? I'm at least going to put a little bit of a check mark on this one. So I did write back and I said, the conversation, which entirety is on our YouTube channel, is a talk on chiefs and politicians who are out for themselves, not for the line personnel. They do exist. We are talking about those who talk up, quote unquote, health and wellness for firefighters while simultaneously running them into the ground. There's a bigger conversation going on here, and thanks for your support. So
here's the link, like and subscribe.
Yeah. So like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our social medias at originalfirefighter.com and all the things on social media for Original Firefighter. We do appreciate the following. And we also appreciate the pushback and some of the, and any of the comments. We really, we'll take it all. This is a whole thing about, every now and then we check in with our our followings and things that we're doing out there. And we want to check in on ourselves too. We want to make sure that we're at least providing some decent context for people to listen to and to evaluate and to give some good value to some of the conversations that we're having, to all the conversations that we're having here. But the point being is that if you're going to make some comments out there in that space, make sure that you have all the facts and listen to the entire thing, or at least listen to, I don't know, take 20 or 30 minutes and then, maybe have a comment about something. But, hey, people do what they do. So we're good. With that
this
said,
is why I don't have social media, because my feelings get hurt easily.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they?
That Krusty really hurt me there.
Yeah.
Bro got passed up. Bro never tried. Bro not. Are you
gonna go get another tattoo now?
Probably. It's gonna be a teardrop on my eye because bro's gonna get it.
Yeah, inflicted pain only makes it better.
You know how many master's degrees I have? None. You know how many bachelor's degrees I have? None. You know what I have? High school education.
Right.
You know what? Chief's not in my future, and I'm quite all right with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I like to do every day.
You're a heck of a line firefighter and a heck of a line officer.
Thanks, Chief.
And clearly I've got good experiences with you and so many of the other teams back in Rockford, and I'm still seeing the frequent fires that Rockford is getting, and that's just always going to be a great place in my heart about, if you want to do the job, Rockford's a good place to do it. That's not just about being salty and, it's a good place to burn your helmet up. It's just, if you want to be a good street firefighter, Rockford, Illinois is going to give you that for sure. There's no doubt. Speaking of experience, Fall River, Massachusetts, this past Sunday, they had quite the experience. We're talking about the Gabriel House facility, which is an assisted living facility for elderly, and quite the dramatic moments out there with multiple firefighters rescuing many, many residents, including police officers also getting in there and helping and also rescuing residents there. But the firefighters front and center on the scene. Got some video here that we're going to look at. But here's the facts real quick before we get to the video, is that it was declared to be a 5-alarm fire, according to the Washington Post. It happened at between 9:30 and 9:50 p.m., starting around that time. Second floor room that was on fire on the east side of the 3-story building of the Gabriel House. This ended up resulting in, initially it was 9 residents that perished, but then it did go one more. They've had a 10th victim that died on July 18th, a 66-year-old person that succumbed to their injuries. And that's very terrible. I mean, obviously any loss of life out there, and the whole point of firefighting is that we want to prevent that to as much of a extent that we can. But it's the rescues, obviously, that are front and center in this video that we're about to show. That over 30 residents, that they were hurt, but they were with smoke inhalation and burns, but they were rescued. Also, including in the injuries, were 6 firefighters. That all 9 non-critical, according to the Boston Globe. But over 50 firefighters did respond to this incident, also including 13 Fall River police officers that responded to this. And again, many, many rescues with some residents being injured but being saved. So within this video, as we pull it up, this comes courtesy of a news outlet out there. But what we're seeing here is textbook, classic, great ladder work, all hands on deck. It's not perfect. We can see that, the ladders going up to these windows aren't perfectly angled, but they're the best that they can. And we've got tons of protection where guys are heeling those ladders, making sure that they're not going to fall. And then we just saw there is just a classic fireman carry of a resident coming down those steps there. So one of the things that I took away from this video and from the incident itself is that the basics still apply. They will always apply. Knowing advanced skills on the fire ground is great. I mean, anytime that we are in a certain in a precarious situation where the basics aren't going to fix the problem, then we have to go to advanced skills. But by and large, it's the basics, Phil. It's the basics that keep getting the job done, and these firefighters did a fantastic job. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that these guys did a great job, and any of the video that's out there capturing this, from whether it's the police body cameras or the guys themselves, up on those ladders. I mean, they were just doing it in the most, basic traditional way to rescue these people down those ladders out of those windows, and then carrying those people out of the building, whether over the shoulder or just under the armpits and grabbing the legs and going. But and from all accounts, this does not look as though that the entire building itself was on fire. It looks like to be like more of a room and contents, more of a smoke condition that's going to pollute that atmosphere and just make it, totally uninhabitable by the residents. And it takes the firefighters going in there and making sure that they do these rescues properly.
Yeah, we know that most of our fire deaths, our fire fatalities, are caused by smoke inhalation. I don't want to say rarely is it caused by the fire itself,
right?
Flames, but I'm sure me and you have both been on many of those too. But yeah, especially a facility like this, you would assume that there were sprinkler systems in place that maybe kept it in check, but don't do much about the smoke, unfortunately.
Right.
So yeah, phenomenal rescue work there with the ladders. Being a ladder guy myself, not a chief. Thankfully.
Me too. Right.
I definitely appreciate some good ladder work. It's one of those things that it's a basic skill, right? I should be able to teach you one time. You do it 3 times. It's a skill you have for life, but you need to maintain those skills throughout your career too, and not get complacent. And didn't actually see them throwing the ladders, but I'm sure that it was done properly. Proper placement on those windows to affect those rescues, which is huge. And one of the biggest things we don't realize sometimes is where we're throwing our ladders, right? We train, and it's always in the grass for some reason, right? We never throw it on the concrete or the blacktop or those surfaces where I can't dig those heels in. And I need people heeling that ladder for me to make sure that that thing stays safe and stays in place, and throw water into the mix now, right? When we're hosing things down even more slick, and even take, Massachusetts has some bad winters like we do here in Illinois, where now ice is an issue too. So good work there. I mean, they did it. They did the job. They did it safely. Good rescues, man, all around. That's awesome. Good.
Yeah,
good
you saw those. You bring up a good point about those ladders, the heel of those ladders being on concrete, and you saw those, firefighters, those bubbas that were, just healing that thing, making sure that those ladders were not going to come down. And I've seen it in a number of different ways, and whether it's on concrete, I've seen it on ice, where these ladders that go up, and by no fault. I mean, this isn't because it's shoddy fireman work. It's just that things happen, and we do move fast sometimes. Sometimes we're too fast on the fire ground. And, I've seen it where, we just get ahead of ourselves. A guy goes up on the ladder, it's not healed properly, and that thing comes flat down. And these are the things that both incident command and safety officers are looking for on the fire ground. But we just, you have, when you have 18, 19, 20, now you got 30, now you got 50 firefighters on the scene. And you can throw more and more chief officers and safety officers on the scene, but sometimes guys, they get ahead of themselves, and by no fault of their own, or maybe it is, there's some fault, yes, but it's not intentionally. And before you know it, you've got a down firefighter. And this didn't look like to be the case at all here. These guys were just going to work, getting it done, and rescuing all these folks.
Yeah, and they did what they could with what they had, and knowing now, right? Now the city itself and the mayor and the chief are now going to start staffing properly. Now it's going to take time, right? But now they're going to 4 on a truck to meet standards. Really weird how that works out, right? Unfortunately, we have to wait for tragedy to strike and people lose their lives, and you looking down the barrel of that gun because of lawsuits and wrongful death, knowing that you didn't meet standards that were supposed to be in place, and that's what happens. So now, fortunately, they're going to be fully staffed, but unfortunately, they had to learn it through a bad lesson, a bad reason. 10 people died. 30 people were injured, including firefighters. You had your off-duty members coming and showing up to the scene. And unfortunately, it's one of those fires where you could have had 100 people, extra. You're still going to have to do some of the work, but that initial response, having that extra body on the truck, making a 4-man engine or 4-man ladder at a minimum, now gets an extra body to do more work. And that could potentially save lives too. When we can Monday morning quarterback it and say, well, what if they had 4 on every truck right now? We don't know what happened. We can assume what would have happened. We don't know. But at least the city administration, the mayor is now falling into line with the 4 on a truck, which many departments don't have. And every time they go out on incident, they're playing with a loaded gun. And And, it's that Russian roulette. There's that one bullet in the chamber, and I got lucky today, and I got lucky next day. But at some point, that's going to go off, and it's going to be bad. And this was that bad call for them. 10 people who lost their lives because they weren't fully staffed and didn't meet the standard. Fortunately, moving forward, they will, within the next 2 years, hiring 20 more bodies, I believe, to bring 6 companies up to fully staffed at 4, and with the goal being all 10 apparatus staffed at 4. So that's a good thing for them. It's going to cost money. It always comes down to money. But yet again, life or money. Can you put a price on life? You can't. So
yeah.
In order for us to do our job properly.
It's always been the tragedies, that's to your point. It's always been the tragedies. And this one, thank goodness this did not involve any fatalities to firefighters. There were 6 injured. But that, goes back to your point about it always takes something terrible to make the thing happen. You go back to Hackensack, New Jersey, right? I mean, that's a long time ago, and certainly the fire service has changed dramatically. I mean, it doesn't even look the same, but that's a key one out there that created a lot of change in the industry, and it changed the Hackensack, New Jersey fire department specifically. You fast forward a number of years later, Charleston, South Carolina, same thing. After the action report came out, we always remember the Charleston 9, and we will continue to do that. But they become, front and center again when these things happen. It's always these departments under examination as to what were their practices, what were the things that they failed to do, what were the things that they were doing correctly, but then also the things that they could, be doing differently. And then was there anything that they grossly failed to do? And this goes in so many different ways. This is where right now we're talking about staffing fire trucks, based on need and priority, resident safety, security for firefighters, things of that nature. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's right there in the NFPA standards. It says, 4 on a truck. That's what gets the job done. In fact, it even rises to the level of, having 5 and 6 on a truck at some points if you want to get certain hose lines up on high rises, water on the fire in a certain time period. I mean, I can go through all these NFPA standards. I've looked into all of them, and I may not be saying it exactly perfectly, but you can go look at these yourself and find them very quickly. And it says it right there. And again, the standard is out there across the country. There's also, you got, SIPSI is a big one now, with all the standards that come from there. So obviously, if you're doing any kind of accreditation, or if you're doing any kind of, internal study, standard of cover, whatever you want to call it, the standards are there, the practices are there, and yet time and time again, the municipalities fail to follow the standards. They ignore it. They kick the can down the road. They don't staff properly. They cut staffing. They'll do it under the advisement of certain administrations. They'll do it when fire chiefs say that it's okay for them to do it and they can get away with it, and they're not going to reduce safety. It's bullshit. It is bullshit. We're saying it clearly here on Original Firefighter. You're being bamboozled. It's not okay. It's not safe. We shouldn't be just accepting it. We should be rising up and saying, we will not continue to do this. And there's so many things that have happened in the most recent times, and it involves everything that we've been talking about on Original Firefighter. We are now exposed to everything. We're on the front lines of everything. It's no longer just the police officers out there dealing with, terrorist activities. We're doing it now. We're in the mix. So that's just one aspect, that goes back to, what's going on in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho right now. And you swing over to Texas, and you got the floods, and you got the loss of life and the lack of responsiveness by Austin, Texas, and all the fallout from their vote of no confidence. You swing over to California, and what's going on over there. It goes on and on and on. And I'm going to pause here and let you jump in here, Phil, because I think you have some things to say about it too.
Brings me back to the conversation we had the other day where some people were a little upset, and I'll use a term that we say in the fire service all the time, butt hurt. Guess what?
Yeah.
Who made those decisions?
Exactly.
The chiefs.
Yes, the chiefs, right? You're right.
Who did the work? The people on the line did the work.
Yeah.
Who got the praise? The chiefs when it goes well. Guess who gets the blame when it goes bad? The people on the line that were doing the work that didn't have what they had to do the job properly or correctly.
Absolutely.
Yet again, I'll start off again. I appreciate that those people do the job that they do. We need those people there. But yet again, when the line are saying they need something, it's there for a reason. When the standards are in place and saying we need something, it's there for a reason.
Absolutely.
And Yet again, we always preach accountability until it's my time to be accountable. And then I don't like accountability anymore. Well, here's the fact. Accountability needs to be had. It needs to be had by everyone from the top down. We'll get into another video that will show where accountability needs to be had at the bottom.
Yes, we will.
But for some of these things, that's what we're talking about, is accountability at the top, and we haven't seen it. And it kind of gets brushed under the rug a little bit. And sometimes people, resign to save face. But you know what? Make the example. Make the example.
This episode of the original Firefighter Podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today.
Yeah, be the example. And also this is that, good ideas can come from all levels of the fire department these days. You got, we trash talk on Gen Z and the newest generations in the fire service to a degree, and they do get it on the chin, and some of it's rightfully so. I mean, put down your phone, get engaged with your crews. Your life it does not exist on your phone. It shouldn't, at least. Go out and touch grass, But that being said, things being fair, is that we do have the younger generations that have information at their fingertips. They can dig into things really quickly. You could have your newest generation firefighters talking more and more about cancer reduction and PFAS and getting those out of our turnout gears. They could be the ones that have probably more of a safety mindset, if you will, than your veteran firefighters, let's say, the ones that, kind of want to continue to be the smoke eaters and things of that nature. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I've got one perfect example about this newer generation coming in that's going to be hugely beneficial. And we joke about it, and we as manly firemen have joked about it for years. Feelings, right? They're in touch with their feelings, and they're aware of their mental health.
A little too much sometimes.
Yes, sometimes, yes.
A little bit too much, but go ahead.
But I think it's a good thing, and we're going to start trending in the right direction as some of the older generation starts to leave, and we get that negativity about talking about these things, right? Till now we feel comfortable actually talking about them, and because that's a generation that was raised, we can joke about it, on their feelings and their emotions, and everybody talks about their trauma, right? And not all trauma is the same, but it might be to others, right?
Well,
but I think that's the big thing that this new generation brings is the mental health aspect, where they're acutely aware of it, and that's a good thing.
It is. If I can, what I want to add right there is just I want to make sure that the jokes are going to continue. I mean, sorry, that's just the way the fire service is. No one is letting you off the hook, and it goes both ways. If you're brand new, and to your point, you're the new generation firefighter, and you're in touch with your feelings, and you kind of can't take a joke. Well, you better learn how to take a joke, because it ain't going to stop. It's not going to change. Now, that being said, though, to your point, if more of the newer generations come towards that middle ground of the fire service, they come they get caught up to that 10-year, 15-year veteran firefighter. And if that veteran firefighter doesn't really want to share, but they're still absorbing that information, and you don't know whether they're going to go reach out on their own or not. They may be taking that into their heart and saying, okay, I'm not going to show what my feelings are because I'm the tough guy, and I've been the tough guy for 10 or 15 or 20 years. But that person, that individual, might also be saying, okay, I'm going to get some help when I get off duty tomorrow morning. And they're not going to tell anybody. It probably came from some of the influence came from some of the younger the new people talking more and more about, hey, we got to take this serious, and you should take it serious. We are not downplaying that here. You should take it serious. For your health. There's a lot of things that should be taken serious beyond mental health. The physical nature. I just had a friend of mine that I unrelated, not fire related. He is a firefighter, and he just lost his wife at a very young age to an aggressive cancer that was it was discovered. She was diagnosed early, but it didn't matter. It was very aggressive, and she lost her life. But he himself also is a survivor of cancer in the fire service, and he just preaches that the old guys, the old guard, and down to the newest firefighter should be doing the right things to protect yourself, protect your get your chances down lower as much as possible. You're not going to completely get rid of the risk in this industry. You're never going to do that. You are signing up for some certain risk, but it's the effort that you have to make as an individual, and also that your employer needs to be doing the right things to set you up for success.
Well, at the end of the day, me and you both know it's a holistic approach to health and wellness, right? It's the physical aspect. Take care of yourself physically. Well, how do you do that? You train, you know the job, you know it inside and out. You have those safe practices, but now it's cleaning the gear and wearing your SCBA. When we came on, and you came on much earlier than I did, horse and buggy, or was it still horses?
Really? We're going to do that?
Fair enough.
Right?
Listen, all right, I can. You're Gen X, right? I'm a millennial. So I can do that.
I can promise you that Gen X was not horse and buggy, but we did have the benefit. There were a few of us that got to ride the tailboard at the very end there.
Yeah, there you go. Not safe, right? We don't do that anymore for
a
reason.
Not safe at all.
We don't
Terrible.
do that for a reason. So you have that, but also now we are wearing our CBAs on everything until we get all clear on masks, kind of thing, right? We're not. It's not just the smoke anymore, right? For so long it was the smoke. We're in your smoke eater, right? We were so proud. You black snot for days and everything, but now we know, right? So taking that physical side and actually taking a step further now to where, saunas in the fire stations, cleaning out your pores and those things. We're taking it those extra steps. But then that holistic approach to the mental and emotional too that we never did before. Here in Illinois, we didn't have a peer support team. To me, came into play in 2015, 2016. Illinois Firefighter Peer Support started. Matt Olson, who was on, I believe, Bolingbrook Fire Department, he's the one that started it here in Illinois. And at the time, there was nothing in the country. Because of what he did, other states started it. Even the International Association of Firefighters now has their own peer support training and teams in place because of the model that he put forward. To think back, that was 10 years ago. That's not that long ago. And that's when we finally started talking about it. And for the longest time, we'd have those CISD teams or CISTs, right? Critical Incident Stress Debriefing teams. That was a model that didn't work. Now, I've done a lot of research and study in it, and I think part of the things that they did were good. So let's not dump the whole thing. Unfortunately, most places did. They dumped that model and went more to this peer support team, which is good. Peer support's a great thing. But that critical incident stress debriefing had its place too, parts of it. I think if you were able to mold those two together, you'd have a lot better action in place for those reviews and those things to take place after those events, right? But I'm getting off topic here. Do you think that peer support was born out of CISD? Because I get your point. But I just want to lend a quick story. Is that when the React helicopter went down in Rockford, Illinois, I did participate in the after action, and also actually was the Rockford Fire Department Honor Guard that was called to help orchestrate their memorial services at RVC, the Rock Valley College there. But we also participated on the early side, and when they did some of the group counseling and some of that after the critical moment afterwards, if you will. And all I'm saying is, and I won't reveal anything that came out of those types of meetings. All I'm just here to say is that those were professionals. They weren't peers. They were from like a critical incident stress debriefing team that were utilized. So I think what you're saying is that you're not dumping the whole thing. You're just saying that some other things were born out of that type of thing. Is that where you're going, maybe? I wouldn't say that peer support was born out of that, but I think there are things that we took away from that. And yet again, I think we as firemen, what do we do when we have those issues or those traumas that affect us, right? We are at the firehouse, and where do we talk the most? Around the kitchen table, right? So I think that's more where it was. People are more comfortable talking to a peer rather than a professional. I think they're are good things with both. I think obviously peer support is much more valuable tool for us because of who we are. I think as the generations continue, maybe that changes with the next generation of firefighter. Maybe their way of communication is something different, that peer support doesn't work for the Gen X millennial generation in the fire service. And that's something that needs to continue to evolve. And for so long, we didn't evolve it, right? We had the CSD for years and years and years and never evolved. And it was get everybody in a room, make them be there. Maybe they talk, maybe they don't, right? You know, it's one of those things where there's some good things to it, but it has to be voluntary. You have to make people comfortable to talk. And unfortunately, not many people want to talk in a large group.
Well, we definitely, you know, have looked, you know, for many decades, we've had our head turned the other way. You know, when the bad stuff has happened, it's like go to the local watering hole and drink your, you know, sorrows away. And to a degree, there's therapy that's happening there too. I mean, a lot of guys are opening up and you're talking about the situation, but you're doing it in another way. You're not really getting into the, you know, the feelings part of it, the emotional part of it. You're just kind of recapping like the craziness of it and how, you know, terrible it might be. And yet we'll still find some satirical way to make it funny. Right. With some dark humor. That's a classic firefighter right there. And that's, again, that's what I'm saying is that's right? Not going to change. That will not change. No. The dark humor, it will always and forever be there. And I think it has to be when it comes to human tragedy, because you just don't even know how to make sense of some of this stuff. I don't know how to make sense of some of the things that we've talked about, incidents that we've had in Rockford, Illinois, things that have just happened in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. How do you make sense of that?
Right.
Without some kind of dark humor that's going to come down. You know, I mean, now they make jokes about 9/11. It's you know, time, what is it? Time plus tragedy equals comedy. So, I mean, that's, like that. Yeah, it is. That's a real thing. But you know, the whole thing of it is that when we're having this conversation on Original Firefighter, there is a purpose for saying the quiet part out loud, which is sometimes you do have to suck it up, buttercup. You don't get to just walk around and think that everything is terrible and how am I going to get through this? And if that's your mentality, you probably aren't going to get through this. You probably won't be very long for the job. However, those of us that stick through it for a long, long time, when we have several decades of the fire service under our belt, when that happens, you definitely have pebbles that become stones, that become concrete, you know, walls that you're putting in your backpack. And if you never unpack that backpack, I mean, you can have a moment of, you know, just stricken, you know, you break, you do. That's what happens to some of these people, a lot of them. And we don't have to know, we won't know necessarily that it's happening. People hide it very well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing where I think this new generation coming in with all their flaws, and they have many.
Yeah.
They thrive with the mental health aspect, which I you know, good for them.
And that's the point that I lead to, I go back to, and just to say, you know, good things can come from all ranks within the fire department. And they come, you know, there are fire chiefs that do great things. There's many fire chiefs that do great things for their fire departments, and they have the best intention for their firefighters, and they want the best for their firefighters. There are, right down to the, you know, the house captains and you know, I like to call the drivers the barn bosses. They set the rules inside the firehouse and they get things done. And they, you know, the driver position is invaluable in my opinion. But you can go all the way down to brand new firefighters these days, and they've got some good ideas too. And a lot of those ideas are driven by safety, thought, and consciousness of being better protected, and, you know, the longevity. And that's a big part of life today is making sure that we are living the best life that we can for as long as we can do it. Because actually the means are kind of out there nowadays. We have the knowledge and the understanding that there are ways to do this job safer. You can, you know, come out of a fire and you can do gross decon right away. You can do, you know, wet wipes that wipe down your neck and your face and get that stuff off you as quick as possible. Don't reuse your gear, as, you know, for fire after fire after fire. Get those carcinogens out of your gear, and so on and so forth. There's a ton of things that can be garnished from the younger generation. So hopefully that goes all the way to the top. Again, hopefully fire chiefs and commanding officers and chief officers are listening to the line and listening to them very well.
Yeah, because if you don't have our backs, we're not going to have yours.
Well, yeah, it kind of goes that way, doesn't it?
Well, that was what I said in that video.
Right.
I watched it, and it didn't go great for me, I guess. People don't like me anymore.
You can't take it like that, man.
Thick skin is what they said.
Yeah. But you can get another tattoo. You'll be all right.
Teardrop.
If you were to get another tattoo, what would it be?
Teardrop.
A teardrop? Just because of those comments?
They're going to be like, man, that cholo right there, he must have done something in the joint. It's like, no, it's my emotions coming out.
They got me. So that's a good conversation about the firefighters out in Massachusetts getting the job done, doing it well, and rescuing people. We're kind of recapping some of the conversation about fire chiefs and how they can be making sure that they're doing the right thing for their line and firefighters on the front lines, and that how we can be listening to everybody within the organization from all levels. But you know what? We're just not going to tolerate at Original Firefighter. We're not going to be quiet about the fact that we know that there are politicians, that there are elected officials, that there are leaders in positions that they say everything that needs to be said in a packaged way to make it look as like, they're just out there doing it every day for the line. It's like, yeah, okay, but then answer a few questions. Why is the call volume continuing to go up every year, a certain percentage? Why do the firefighters continue to have more and more work upon them for very little increase of pay, if any at all? Why do contracts go 3, 4, 5 years without being settled? Why are rigs breaking down across the country with no plan to replace them? Why are firefighters finding more and more depression in their lives? And why are more and more firefighters taking their own lives? I'll end there on that note.
If people would have, rewound to 30 seconds prior, is literally what you said before I started my little rant. Yet again, if criticize the people that are the workers, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Getting the job done. You know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Go back into work. I'm going to put my gear on. I'm going to respond to the calls every day. Doesn't matter.
And you do it joyfully. You know how I know? Because you actually read books to your firefighter, to your team. I was there. Yeah.
Right there.
If you want to plug it, go ahead, plug it. It's a good book. It's a good book. Yeah, sure. I don't care. Why not?
So this book is called Fire and Murder.
Yeah.
It's written by Dan Zackert, retired district chief from the Rockford Fire Department.
Yeah.
The title gives it away. Talks
fire
about
and murder.
Talks about murder. And if you like fire, you're going to like this book. And if you like books about murder, you're going to like this book. I still want to do an audio podcast with voices.
So unfiltered with a PH has read that book to his company at least a couple times that I'm aware of. In fact, I would sit out on the bay floor and listen to you read the chapters out loud with voice inflection.
Yes, with that book. I also read that book to the crew while I was studying for promotion. And that actually helped me with a question or two on the test.
Yeah, I bet it did, right?
Maybe that needs to be mandatory reading material, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, and this is no joke. It was, from my point of view, it was a great team building exercise. It was literally 100%. You were able to get every firefighter in that company, both companies, Engine 2, Ladder 2. You got all of those firefighters out on the bay floor after dinner, and you guys had after dinner, bedtime story type thing. And
we called
Phil,
it Station 2 story time.
read that book from front page to back page on it. It was great.
Listen,
nicely
not
done.
Only I have hardcover, I have it in paperback, I have an not audio on the Apple books.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I love it. It's a phenomenal book. And not only I know the guy that wrote it. So
hey, I've always said I've never written a book, and he did.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
There you go.
I actually brought up to the boys last day. I said, I think we're getting to that time again, because it's good for the new recruits to hear. So a lot of history in that book too, which is I actually really like.
Yeah. He did do a good job of referencing some of the what would you call it? The legacy firefighters of the Rockford Fire Department. You did a good job bringing them into the story.
Every person in that book I know, I've worked with in my career, and I mean, some have been retired for 15, probably almost 20 years now. Others are still on the job, and especially with the younger generation coming on, it's like they might hear a story, and now they get to hear a name, and it's a it's a good book. It's a fiction book.
Yeah,
but it's a fiction book
fictional.
with some.
Ooh, it's very fictional.
It's a fiction book with some nonfiction stories in there, though, which I can appreciate. Yeah.
But what we're not gonna do is we're gonna not stay in fiction. We're gonna actually go into reality here on our next segment here and talk about what not to do when there's a flood. If you want to take that one, Phil, go for it, man.
Yeah. So it was Montgomery County in Maryland flooded very recently, and a driver operator, I don't know if they're engineer or what their title or rank would be, maybe I sure hope it was someone acting up in that position, decided to drive through,
who will never act up again,
standing water that was above the tailboard of the fire engine, and that fire engine is now ruined. Now let's just talk about the unsafe practices here. Is there's a car in the water floating, and you can see the car moving as they drive by, as they create the wake. Now, I don't know if that driver... You go back and play
that again, Aaron?
I don't know if that driver thought they would be able to make it to the other side. There. I don't know if that firefighter driving could think they could make it to the other side while seeing a vehicle stuck in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good gauge if I should drive through or not, if there's already another vehicle in there, right? Like, we flood here. I've been on multiple floods in my career where it was that high or higher. My first year on the job, I actually was fortunate enough to be part of a team, myself and currently another lieutenant on the fire department. We're both newer members, and we were able to effect over 100 rescues ourselves on that flood. But it always blows my mind when you see one vehicle in the water and you literally watch someone else drive through that water.
Right.
Like they're going to make it through.
Right.
So, that's the general public. You would hope that first responders, police, fire, would know better, seeing what we see, doing what we do. Maybe this isn't a good thing. I just don't think that guy was a member of the dive team, so he probably doesn't have any swift water training. But that's a $500,000 Dear Chief letter that gentleman's going to have to write.
You're being lenient there. That's at today's world, that's a $1.2 million fire engine.
Well, that's what the
with a lead replacement time of about 2.5-3 years.
That fire engine costs $500,000 because the new one, yes, will double in price for sure on that. So, and who knows? I said, I think I said, gentlemen, could have
look at this
potentially.
Yeah, for those that are viewing, for those that are listening, what we're watching is a fire engine apparatus that is going through total floodwaters, where water is rushing up over the front windshield of a fire engine. This is what you don't do. You don't do this because now your rig is out of service and you are no good to affect any rescues after this incident has happened.
Now, let me just say this. Maybe bro was cruising. Maybe there was an issue with the brakes prior to this. Maybe he documented that. Maybe their maintenance department wasn't able to handle those brakes. Maybe he had no brakes because he just sent it, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
This
did actually
thought to
occur.
Himself, he said, just gonna send it. And he sent it.
This episode is brought to you by Strike the Box Cigars, Pipes, and Tobacco. Whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just starting your journey into the world of fine tobacco, Strike the Box has what you need. From the finest cigars to premium loose leaf tobacco, Strike the Box delivers on quality in a welcoming space where you can enjoy a smoke and good company. Additionally, Strike the Box specializes in vintage pipe restoration. We're talking estate pipes brought back to life with craftsmanship that borders on art. Got Grandpa's old briar gathering dust? Let the crew at Strike the Box make it smoke like new. Check out their full list of vintage pipes for sale at striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois. Soak in the aroma and talk shop with real tobacco lovers from the American Fire Service. Strike the Box, where fire, flavor, and tradition meet. Again, that's striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois.
We're not immune. We did have an incident back there at RFD where a ladder truck went through a little bit too high.
Now, it wasn't me. I'm not.
It wasn't me either. There was a mural painted though at station number 5 with the front grill of the ladder with tree limbs and.
You know who actually had that commissioned? That mural.
I do. Fire and
Murder
author.
The captain of the house.
Yeah.
The author of the book
Fire and Murder. Of Fire and Murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. So that would be a little bit of a lesson of what not to do in floodwaters with your fire apparatus. If you're seeing other vehicles in that floodwater and they are bobbing up and down, probably not real good for you to drive your apparatus into those floodwaters and just stick to high ground.
And if you're in Australia or Southern Africa, near water, there might be sharks. So just stay away from that in general.
Well, I assume in today's world that there's sharks anyway. Like, I think everything's morphed. I mean, I'm sorry, but we're bringing back woolly mammoths.
This is true.
We're bringing back woolly mammoths. So at this point in time, I think we've jumped the shark, and that the sharks could be anywhere.
Well, I did see this documentary one time, Sharknado. I don't know if you've heard of it, seen it.
Yeah, totally real.
It's a documentary. That's what it's told.
So
the internet told me that.
So speaking of, some other things that are happening out there in the world, I just want to bring attention to, we have yet another candidate for mayor. This time we're going to swing over to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the reason why that I bring this up is there's a little bit of a concerning issue that he brings to the table. This is Omar Fatah. I hope that I'm saying that right, but if I'm not, it's spelled Fateh. And so Senator Omar from Minnesota, he has been endorsed by the Democratic Party to be the next mayor in Minneapolis. And one of the things that go ahead.
Be clear, not just the Democratic Party, because in Minnesota, they're called the Democrat Farmer Labor.
Yes, that's right.
The DFL. So
yeah, the DFL. Yep.
Apparently, if you're a Republican, the farmers are off limits too, and so is labor.
Yeah.
So
he's received these endorsements, and what Omar, Senator Omar, I'm just going to call him by his first name. I don't want to butcher his last name.
Just call him a socialist. Who cares?
Yeah, he's a socialist.
At this point, honest too, he's a communist, but he's just not.
At this point, they pretty much all are, and that's why they're trailing by at least 5 points in the 2028 standard polling right now, but. One of the things I want to make a point about with this individual is that he has come out with his top 3 agenda items, and number three was to make sure that the public emergency services, the response agencies, that would be police and fire, that he wants to ensure that they are diversified. So DEI. It's not dead. I think it's been wounded very well, as it should be. But here again, these politicians that are coming out here and making diversity their priority rather than just coming out and saying that safety for residents should be their top priority, and safety, with having history that Minneapolis has had, to include other cities that are the size of Minneapolis and maybe larger. Seattle would be top of mind. Portland, Oregon would be top of mind. Chicago, Illinois would be top of mind. St. Louis, Missouri would be top of mind. All of these cities that are claiming that diversity is their priority, no. It should be just safety. Safety should be your priority. What do you think about that, Phil?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he wants to take money away from MPD and go ahead and give it to the fire department. So No. So the problem is he is anti-cop 100%. I don't feel bad saying that.
Yeah.
He does not want, this is someone who, is on board with the defund movement. And
right.
Yet again, they got a lot of backlash for defund. So then they changed it to reallocate or something like that. Another fancy term, but to take money away from that organization, right? The problem is when you talk about police officers and say that they have such a chokehold on the citizens, and I'll just use his words for it. If you give me a moment, I can find it.
Well, yeah. As you search for that, I'm just gonna make a little bit clearer with the messaging that I've got here is that this particular candidate is doing the usual, which is he's giving the canned, I'm in front of a microphone speech about, hey, if I'm made the mayor, then I'm going to diversify the public service, the emergency response community. I'm going to make sure that, our departments reflect the demographics of the city. And again, I'm not here to say that that's not something I'm not saying that that's not important. I'm not saying that to make it, to just be, very on the record here. I'm very aware that it's very likely that your next police officers and firefighters have to come from the pool of people that you have within your community. So if your demographic is, highly African American, fine. I have no problem that your firefighters and police officers and EMTs and paramedics, you may have a higher percentage of African American firefighters and police officers and things of that nature. That's fine. But leading with, I got to make sure that we're going to be diverse, that's the precursor for saying, I'm going to make sure that the standard for being a police officer, for being a firefighter, for being a paramedic in that community or in those communities, what you're really saying, and you're not saying it out loud because you're not going to say it on the news. You're not going to say it so that it gets put in print. You're going to keep it to yourself. You're going to keep it in a small group of people in a dark room, and you're going to say, I am going to be okay if we adjust the standard or if we curve the standard so that we get a particular certain applicant that can become a firefighter, a police officer, or an EMT. And that is not okay. We are here saying that should not be allowed at all anymore at this point. There should be no pilot that's in DEI. There should be no firefighter that's coming from a DEI program, no police officer, no doctor. Sorry. If you have people's lives in your hands, you should be the most qualified candidate of any whatever race, gender, background. Just be the best qualified. That is it. It's not that hard.
Yeah. So this is from his website, his candidacy website. Minneapolis residents want a mayor whose bold and transformative approaches to public safety will end the cycle of the Minneapolis Police Department's violence and brutality that has held our city captive for so many years. I am that mayor.
Right.
You're anti-cop. You're anti-cop.
Whatever.
Done. You're anti-cop. You can't defend that. You can't say anything else. And yet again, I'm all for investing in other programs, but not at the expense of the budget of the one that you're trying to affect change to in a positive way. Because
you don't get to burn down half your city. You don't get to burn down half your city and then claim that you've got this thing dialed in. You clearly don't. You don't have it dialed in. You're worried about the color of the skin or the gender of the skin of the person that's responding out on the calls. And I'm telling you right now, and Phil, I know you would agree, and our listeners and viewers, if you're thumping on somebody's chest because they're in cardiac arrest, that person does not care what color you are. They don't care what gender you are. They care that you can do the job and bring them back to life.
And be the
that
best,
is it.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
So if they've had a problem with brutality, and hey, let's be clear, prejudice and biases, they do exist for sure, from East Coast to West Coast, North and South. Absolutely, in America, prejudice and biases do exist, and brutalities do exist within departments, and police departments have taken it far too far. I'm not saying that has not happened, but that does not necessarily mean that we have to go down these roads of defunding police, because I can tell you, we can already prove that doesn't work. Just look at Chicago every other weekend. Look at the Miracle Mile in Chicago every other weekend getting smashed up and grabbed, and they can't have an Apple store on the Miracle, on Michigan Avenue because it gets broken into every other week.
Right. Once you start to lose businesses and they don't want to come back, probably doing something wrong. Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's hard to say you want to defund or reallocate money towards other places, but then say, work to eliminate the backlog of unsolved police investigations. How do you think you're going to do that when you take money away from those police officers that are doing that job?
Right.
The reason that there's a backlog is because they're understaffed, because you already tried to defund and reallocated money. It's not working. It's not working well. So good luck on that.
I love how the institutions of police work and fire and EMS, as we talk about a lot on the show, I love how these institutions are the ones that have to make all the changes, and we're never asking our families, the communities, the neighborhoods, and I'm certain that many neighborhoods want to rise up together and clean up their neighborhoods. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm saying that we do not put enough emphasis back on the institutions of basic family in our communities. Your neighbor being your good neighbor, being not a tattletale neighbor that as we saw in different aspects of the past, COVID being one of them, but being neighborly and being good to one another, and obviously bringing back and getting refocused on the family unit. Again, because those things are very philosophically and tangibly, they're very difficult to deal with. So what we do is we grab at the lowest hanging fruit, and they end up being first responders and cops and things of that nature. And we're like, well, let's reform something. So we just start doing that. It's a waste of time and energy and money.
Crazy thing with this is he's running against the incumbent mayor, Jacob Fry, who is a member of the DFL, the Farmer Labor Democrats, right? They've backed this new candidate, this Omar Fatah, like you said, but his own party doesn't want him anymore, which is interesting. And he was a terrible mayor to begin with himself, so we're okay with him going bye-bye. But, at least you're aware of the devil you knew, not the one you don't, Minneapolis. So you're going to end up like New York City, two once great cities that have fallen into chaos. And it's unfortunate by your own choosing. Here's two people that moved specifically to Minneapolis for this exact thing, for politics, right? Neither are from Minnesota. Jacob Fry moved there at a very young age after law school to work at a law firm, and then immediately started running for politics. Same thing with this guy. Same thing. He's initially from D.C., grew up in Virginia, went to school, ended up moving to Minneapolis and ran for the state reps, lost, ran for state senate, won, and now he's running for mayor of Minneapolis. Good luck. Interesting.
Speaking of falling into chaos, we might as well do the.
You're gonna read more TikToks to me and break me down even more? Is that what we're gonna do here?
There's only really been one story that's broken TikTok and all the other social medias out there, and so we might as well do our dubious honor of also embracing the fact that the kiss cam video has definitely broken the internet. So you've got these two individuals, Kristen Cabot caught on a Jumbotron at Coldplay with concert, embracing the Astronomer CEO Andy Byron, and apparently has resigned since the scandal has broken. But basically what was Kristen Cabot? She was the HR director of this astronomer business, and then the CEO Andy Byron. These guys were caught on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert. I think that the terms "you've been Coldplayed" will be top-ranking phrasing in 2025 for the duration of 2025. I also think that either some version of these two morons will be the 2025 Halloween costume of the year, or the Kiss Cam Jumbotron itself, or some variation. Those I'm predicting those things to be the Halloween favorite costumes of the year. But what do you think?
The awesome thing is that their reaction caused the lead singer Chris Martin to actually call it out there. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he actually said it like, oh boy.
Oh boy. They're either shy or they're having an affair.
Do you think that so they were on the kiss cam and their face of embarrassment and shock, do you think it's because they got caught having their affair or they got caught at a Coldplay concert? Just wondering. If we could put a poll up, that'd be great. A survey of some sort. I think it might be 50-50. I mean, now that we know what happened. But I was actually reading somewhere that I think the wife kind of set it up that way. And even if you look at the girl to her right, her reaction was all she could do was laugh and be like, "Yeah, got caught."
Yeah, the girl to the right, she's kind of been, chastised a little bit. I mean, because again, people are just making assumptions that, she must have known or been in on, and then covering up the cheating or whatever that is. And it's like, okay, I don't know. Maybe not. Nor do I care. I don't even care about this kiss cam video and all of the things. What's interesting is that it's unfortunate that these two were doing what they were doing, and then the ripple effect goes beyond just the two of them, and the fallout of that. But the internet has just been interesting with all the things. I think my favorite. Where they superimposed other people in the same space as the Jumbotron. I think my favorite has got to be Bill Clinton embracing Monica Lewinsky.
Do we have that? Can we pull that up?
I'm sure we can put that up. Yeah, it's out there. I've shared that one. Also, another good one, just real quick, is also the Philly Fanatic out in Philadelphia at a Phillies game. They had a female and male version of the Philly Fanatics, and they were doing the embrace as well. And they were caught, and their reaction was very, very funny and cool. So, anyways,
I was raised when I was younger. My grandmother always told me, "Philip, choices have consequences."
That's here we are. We got for those listening, we've got the Bill Clinton embracing Monica Lewinsky. This is the ultimate definition of F around and find out.
Quick question: where's her blue dress and where's his cigar? That's all
right. Well, to be fair, there's no fornication. This is Luke Skywalker embracing Princess Leia, and as we all know,
prior to or after them
his sister.
Finding out? Was that prior to or after them finding out? Prior to.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't really do a good job in Return of the Jedi to make it, clear that Luke had realized, like, oh my God, I made out with my sister. They just kind of like wrote right over that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those have been some of my top favorites, is Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia embracing each other. And then we also have the Lego set version of that coming out as well.
Perfect.
Of the kiss cam. And then I saw one of my favorites the other day. I saw that it was a family that was playing a jigsaw puzzle, and it was putting together the image of the two of them. There was just like one piece missing. It was pretty funny. So make sure if you're looking for some entertainment, again, I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole of, absolutely clearly this has devastating effects to these families that are involved, but the internet wins again.
Wait, hold on. Scroll down a little bit. There's that Nickelback one. Look at this photograph.
Okay, that one's a good one. That one there is going to be. If you're gonna switch over to our YouTube channel, make sure that you watch. We're throwing up some of these images. Again, just having some, a little bit of fun. We understand the seriousness of it, and it's terrible. It's not. There's nothing. What else can you say? It's terrible. It's terrible. With that said, with what's going on in the world today and everything that we're talking about on the original Firefighter podcast, we just want to make sure that people out there, you're taking care of yourself. You find some time to get out and engage with the things that you love and enjoy off the job. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also go to our website, originalfirefighter.com, for merchandise that we wear on the show. And as always, we want to wish you the best and be safe.
This has been the Original Firefighter Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. Tune in each week on Wednesdays for a new episode. Like and follow us on all social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today.